Hi folks, Jason here. In this video I'm going to be exploring how we can transform 2D images into 3D models. So essentially what we're going to be doing is creating a scene that looks not unlike this. So essentially it's just a image that I got offline, and this is kind of League of Legends style image but like a shop front. So essentially what we're going to be doing is, it's going to be a 2-hour session, although there'll be a 2-hour session as well in the afternoon for continued work. So essentially we're going to be taking this image and modeling from it. We're going to be utilizing this imagery and essentially redesigning what we've got into a kind of 3D element. And then hopefully if there's time, we're going to put some lighting in there, do a render in there, and then upload it to Padlet. So this is the challenge. You're going to have this image. It's going to be available for you on Owler. And essentially, you're using a series of tools, like using the knife tool, also extrusion, bevel, smart UV mapping as well, and some lighting to kind of help breathe the creation into existence. So knife tool, essentially it's a sort of precision tool for creating topology. It could be like an existing plane or a 3D image, but essentially it's really good for doing intricate designs in particular, as well as like fixing topology. You can also create, as it says here, complex shapes, tracing details from reference images or artwork, which is essentially what we're going to be doing. And also helps to do things like control the edge flow for doing things like deformations on 3D modeling. We're going to be using the extrusion tool, so basically you select a face and essentially extrude out from that. This can be really useful for extruding outwards but also inwards on models. We'll be using the bevel tool, so that's really good for kind of smoothing over the model as well, edges of the model, to kind of create more rounded or angular kind of view. And also smart UV and wrapping. So essentially you're going to be taking parts of the model where it stretches and using smart UV to basically put that image or put that UV onto another part of the image. It'll all make sense when we do the workshop. And then if we've got some time, use some lighting to create some pockets of light and just basically give it a bit more atmosphere. So overview is, we'll have a look at the modeling process and hopefully getting most of the work done. Then coming on to the afternoon session, you can continue working on it if you wish, and then by the end of play today, looking at uploading a screen grab or a render of what you've done into Padlet. How can you apply this? Well, there are a number of ways that you can apply this. So think about whatever it is the IP that you're going to be using. So whether it's like for a game or for an animation, movie, call it what you will. I'm assuming that you can have all these different sort of themes going on. It could be fantasy, sci-fi, horror, or suspense, something like that. And so you can be using or generating your own images and then using these things to basically create interiors or exteriors for a scene. And that way you can actually utilize what you're doing. And also, you can use it in a modular way. So you can sort of take part of that artwork, model it, but then reuse it over and over and over again to create a scene. Okay, so let's get going. Now, by rights, you should have Blender open already. As you can see here, I've got mine open already, and I've got the scene that you can see here on the little intro. And the little character here, I've just taken that from Mixamo and imported it. It's optional. You don't have to do it, but it's quite good for things like scale and light. And you can see here what I've done is, if I just go and select this now, go into edit mode, you see here I've got a series of different cuts, extrusions, and bevels to kind of create this geometry. You can actually do it relatively quickly, and you could build an entire street scene if you wanted to. So this is the original image, and this is the one that I picked from those series of images, and essentially started cutting it out and extruding it and doing all kinds of stuff. So that's the overview. Let's get to it. So I'm just going to go and save this out. Let's go and save that. Make sure it's saved. And I'm going to go through to File and New, and we'll just go General. Okay, so back to our default cube, which I'm going to get rid of. I'm going to go and delete that. Keep the camera in there and the lighting in there, that's fine. So we're going to need to, first of all, bring in some images. Okay, so we're going to start by holding our Shift and A, and we're going to go down to where it says Image, and we're going to go click on Mesh Plane. And we need to go and find the image. Okay, so as you can see here, there's the scene that I showed you in the intro, and I've got my character here as well, which I've imported from mixer mode. That's optional, it's just mainly for scale. But, see there, if I now go into edit mode, you can see there all the different cuts that I've made into this picture. So if we move to the side here, you can see this is the image that I went from. And essentially I've gone around cutting things out, pulling them out, extruding them, pushing them in, things like that. Essentially that's what we're going to get into. So without further ado, let's get going. So I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to New and General. And I don't need to save that, or I'll just save it just in case. Right, so it should end up with something that looks like this. And I'm going to go and delete this. Before we do that, I'm just going to bring up the screen key so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to go and delete that cube. And I'm going to bring in the image now. So I'm going to press Shift and A. Go to Image and Mesh Plane. From there, you should be able to find your folder. So in my instance, I've just got it saved there on my desktop. Go and input that. Now I won't see anything at the moment. I'm just going to bring it through to the viewport shader in the middle there. I'm going to hit S to scale it up, and you should be able to see something that looks like that if you do it as well. I'm doing it, and I'm just going to bring this above. So again, I'm just going to go to the orthographic view and just bring it up like so. And I think that's roughly where I kind of want it. As a general rule of thumb, if I just go and bring a cube in, I go to Mesh and Cube. Now the cube itself is 2 meters. Or should be about 2 meters in height. Which means that putting it alongside, say, this scene here would pretty much be it. Right, so I'm going to go and delete that. So that's pretty much the size that I'm looking for. Okay, now you can actually take care of this in Photoshop and just basically use that image. I've just kind of brought this in raw. So effectively what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to sort of trim this down to like, just so it's just this plane. Really easy to do. I'm going to hit down on the tab key and Control and R. I'm just going to put a subdivision in there. Now one of the things also you need, before we get going, you will need to go through to Options and make sure you've got correct face attributes. Now the reason for that is that when you're moving the edges around and vertices, if you don't have this selected, it will distort the image, and you don't want that. So make sure that is selected. And I'm just going to press Control and R again. Move that to say there. So got that. I'm now going to hit the 3 key on my computer and go delete. Go delete faces and just do the same with the rest of them. So now I've just got the image. Right, so we're ready to get going. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the basics of this with the modeling. It is pretty much like rinse and repeat. So once I get going, I'll probably continue for say 10 minutes, and then probably what I'll do is I'll then speed the video up just so you can actually see the entire process, and then I'll probably stop at where it gets to the point where we put some lighting and things like that. So to get going, first of all, I want to kind of get rid of this background as well, and also I'm going to do something with this as well. I'm probably going to bring this forward as well. So anyway, let's get to it. So I'm going to press press the K tool for knife. And what I'm going to do is literally just clicking along like so. It's a bit like, if you're using Photoshop, it's a little bit like using the polygon tool in Photoshop. Essentially just cutting around the image, and effectively it's going to create a separate face for it. So I'm just going to give it a way around. Like so. There we go. And then once you've got there, hit Enter, and that basically seals the deal. Then all we need to do is, with 3 selected, select that face, delete face, and then I'm going to go and delete this face here as well. So you should end up with something that just looks like that. We don't need to necessarily worry about the sides for the minute. We'll come around to that. We basically want to be centering now really on using the knife tool, and also using extrusion and bevel, things like that. Have a look at what you're doing as well. So, when you're sort of playing around with this stuff, just assess it, take your time with it. I'm just going to alter the material on here. So at the moment it's a little bit washed out. I'm going to just increase this metallic, which will deepen the colours a little bit, just so you can see it a bit better. Right, and yeah, so let's have a look, assess it, and go, right, okay, so what we're going to start with first. Well, assuming that this pillar here and the top here are essentially going to be the forefront, as well as this pathway, it would be an idea to maybe think about playing around with these first. Now, regarding this little path area here, this walkway, you can do this a number of ways. We could maybe look to extend it a little bit like that, or just create a separate piece. Now, what I'm inclined to do is perhaps instead of doing two separate pieces, I might, and again, this is where it takes a bit of experimentation, I might use the knife tool perhaps to extend this, and then I can have a play around with it. So I'm going to hit K, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click around this like so. So effectively I'm going to cut this out. Just cut it around, or say cut it, not cutting it out. What I'm doing is I'm adding a subdivision to it, essentially. Now from there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically make it sort of horizontal. And I'm going to click on 2, and just shift and select those. And have a look at the side view on this. And effectively do something like that. Extend this out a bit. Now if it starts kind of getting a bit too distorted, we can have a kind of play around with this, but effectively what we can do is we could, for example, we could play around with the smart UVs and reposition our the image, or leave it as is for the time being. I might be inclined just to leave it as is for the time being, because the smart UV bit I want to kind of get to and get into it. But that's kind of set the scene there. And we want to really sort of set this part back as well. So again, I'm going to use the knife tool. Okay, now you can access it from the sides. If I go down to say here, you can access it there, but using quick keys is the best method for doing stuff like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit K again, and then basically click around this pillar, and effectively just move around. Now these are very irregular shapes, so they're not straight lines. So there's a bit of forgiveness there, because if they were straight lines, then you have to be a little bit more precise. But because this is kind of fantasy, it's not exactly, you don't have to be too strict. Right, so we've got that, and remember, you always have to hit enter at the end of it. Now we're going to set this back. So I'm going to hit 3 and select that face, and this is where extrusion comes in. Now you can either extrude it this way using these tools, or what you can do is just hit E and then send this back. So I'm going to hit E and then just send this back, like so. Not too much. Let's say something like that. I don't think that's looking too bad myself. All right, and we've got some pretty stuff here happening, but we can have a play around with that in a bit. I want to kind of get the big bold stuff done first, and then we can kind of finesse it. So we've got that done. Then we're ready to start adding a bit more detail. Now with this, I think this is probably going to be coming out a little bit, and this is like a sort of almost like a would it be like a sill or something like that. Same thing with that as well. So again, just a bit of experimentation really. So I'm inclined to maybe deal with this first, this little opening. So again, using the knife tool. Just click around here like so. Go down. Now that kind of happened prematurely. I didn't really want to do that straight off the bat. So let me see if I can do that again. You can adjust it afterwards, and perhaps I can show you how to do that if you do make a mistake. In fact, let's do that. Let's just say come around to say, let's say you do it there, and hit enter, and that is what you want. If you hit the 1 key, what you can do is you can then click on that, and because I've got the correct face attributes set up, it's not going to distort, which is good. You see a little bit of movement, that's about it. If you've got like extra vertexes in there, you can get rid of them, but don't delete them. What you do is you can go delete. Instead of delete, you can go dissolve. And that way it keeps it in mind. If you delete it, it'll get rid of the entire thing. So that's not looking too bad. So again, with this, what we can do is we can extrude it. But what I want to do first is I want to do the same on the other side, just so that they're at the same size. So we'll go across to this side here, hit K again, and again, just click around, so there, then all the way down to there, and then hit enter, like so. And I do it. So this is the one. So this and that one I want it's going to be the same. This one as well, of course. Do that. Again. Enter. Do this one as well. Actually, Not sure if I need to kind of start it. That's about right, yeah. Again, I've got an extra vertex in there. I don't want. I'm just going to go and dissolve that. Yeah, so as I was saying, with these two, I want to kind of set them back the same. So I'm going to hit 3, Shift and select this one as well, and then hit E, and then take that back to save there. Like so. Oh, I can see I missed a bit there. Let's just go back again. So just press Control and Z, I'm going to go back again, do that again. E. Something around about there. It's not too bad. Now again, we've got some stretching going on here. Don't worry about it for the time being. We can remedy all this stuff as well as stuff like this. And for the door, it looks to be like an in and out sort of door. What I want to do here is perhaps extrude this a little bit so it's kind of just slightly kind of proud of the actual wall here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to 3, select that, Shift and select that one as well, press E, and just extrude those a little bit. Now, I mentioned before about using the bevel tool. Now we could try that, say for example with this one, essentially with that selected, and what you can do is you can see the little symbol there, the icon. Now select that or press Control and B. We'll press Control and B. Now you've got to be really careful with this because it can go wrong if you're not careful. So press Control and B again. Let's just go back. We'll go across to this side here, hit K again, and again, just going to flick around, just say there, then all the way down to there, and then hit Enter, like so. And I do it. So this is the one. So this and that one I want is going to be the same. This one as well, of course. Do that. Again. Enter. Do this one as well. Actually, I'm not sure if I need to kind of start it. That's about right, yeah. And again, I've got an extra vertex in there. I don't want. I'm just going to go and dissolve that. Yeah, so as I was saying, with these two, I want to kind of set them back the same. So I'm going to hit 3, Shift and select this one as well, and then hit E, and then take that back to save there. Like so. Oh, I can see I missed a bit there. Let's just go back again. So just press Control and Z, I'm going to go back again, do that again. E. Something around about there. It's not too bad. Now again, we've got some stretching going on here. Don't worry about it for the time being. We can remedy all this stuff as well as stuff like this. And for the door, it looks to be like an in and out sort of door. What I want to do here is perhaps extrude this a little bit so it's kind of just slightly kind of proud of the actual wall here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to 3, select that, Shift and select that one as well, press E, and just extrude those a little bit. Now, I mentioned before about using the bevel tool. Now we could try that, say for example with this one, essentially with that selected, and what you can do is you can see the little symbol there, the icon. Now select that or press Control and B. We'll press Control and B. Now you've got to be really careful with this because it can go wrong if you're not careful. So press Control and B again. Let's just go back again. Control and B. Just say something like that. Now if I come off there, you can see there now we've got like a sort of bevel going on. You can do the same thing with this one as well. Select them, Control B. Not too much. Just enough. And it just kind of gives it a bit more, just makes it look a little bit more chunky. Alright, so let's have a look now at this window on the door. Again, K tool. Move this around. This one I'm actually going to set backwards. Enter, and same thing with this one as well. Around that. Now, if you miss one, like here, if you needed like an additional vertex, press Control and R and click. And if I go to 1, you should see there it's placed like a vertex in there. So that can be quite useful if you just happen to have kind of missed one along the way. Okay, so something like that. All right. And then with these, I'm going to go back to 3, Shift and select them. And again, I'm going to just extrude these. Not too much, just a little bit. Say there. So you can see already it's starting to kind of take shape. It's got, still got a bit of a way to go and things like that. But that's pretty much getting there. Now, I just want to take care of this couple of things here. I'm just looking at these pillars, well, primarily the sign. So let's have a look at the sign, and then maybe have a quick look at the pillars. So again, the K tool. And again, this is a bit of a sort of a very odd kind of looking shape. It's very irregular, and as I said before, there's a lot of room for error because it's not a strictly, a precise geometric shape. Okay. Something like that. Enter, and then say again, K tool, K symbol, sorry, and then do this. Right, to say there, hit enter. Okay, and then I'm going to extrude this, hit 3, and E to extrude. Now I want that to be fairly brown, sticking out, like a bit of signage. And then we've got a little sign here as well. I can hit the K tool. Something like that. And then again, E. If you want to kind of use a bit of a bevel on there, you can do. Again. Like that. You can also play around with some of the parameters you see at the bottom left there. You can do things like you can add segments, so if I just scroll down there, if you want to like make it a bit more rounded, you can do like so. And you can also play around with the width, but again, I'd be very wary because it can be quite sensitive when it comes to that. So let's just try that again. It seems to have got rid of everything at that point. So let's try that again. So something like that. Okay. So we've got that. Now, if we have a look at these pillars again. I think it'd be an idea to maybe K tool and just maybe place one there, perhaps, and maybe one there. And then what we can do is we can bring this forward, perhaps something like that, just so it gives it a bit more of a kind of or an angle. Again, just have a bit of a play around. And do the same here as well. So, okay. And this tile I think is going to come from the top there, all the way down to the bottom. And then just like that one there, go to Hit 3 again. Enter, and then select that vertex. And just bring these out a little bit. Alrighty, so that's starting to really sort of take shape. If I just go into that mode now, so back into the object mode, it's looking too shabby. Now there are other things, other detail, before we kind of maybe get into, say, these cobbles, which we can play around with. Need to address the issue of stretching. So if I just zoom in here, you'll see it doesn't look like wildly like awful, but it doesn't look great. You've got this illustration and you've kind of got this really weird stretching thing going on. Now you can take care of this by using smart UVs. And how we do that is you can go back into edit mode and go to 3. I'm going to show you this as an example. You could actually do this entire window. So I would go Shift and just select all of these, like so. And then what you can do is you can press U, and then from there, from Unwrap, go to Smart UV Project. Don't worry about the rest of this, just go Unwrap. Now, let's venture off into this tab up here, UV Editing. And you'll see there now what it does is it basically just rolls out, lays out the UV for the, that's going over the image at the moment. I'm just going to change that there we go, so we can get a better view of it. Right, so you can see there now, that's what I've got selected and that's what it's done. However, it's kind of, what it's done now is it's enlarged the entire thing and now I'm getting the entire image. That's not an issue. All we need to do here is, I'm going to click on it, I'm going to hit A to select it all. And all we need to do is just scale this down. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to find parts of this image that will basically suit. You can see that around the edge there. Something that's going to kind of suit it more or less. You hit G, maybe move this up now. I'm just going to scale this. Now, it's ideal because essentially what you do with this, or at least in principle, what you'd be doing is using it almost like what's called a trim sheet. And a trim sheet can be really good for creating assets for, like, say, games and animation, where you want to use the same image for creating lots of different kind of assets. Now, in this instance, all we've got is this image, but we can be creative with it and play around with it that way, and maybe try some different things. Say something like that. Let's try that. And again, it's not ideal, but it kind of gets rid of that horrible stretching. Now, it might be that it needs to be a little bit darker, perhaps. If I just go back to that, or even a bit lighter, perhaps. I can just go and shift and select all of these again. And go back to the UV editing. You should be able to see it there. And I think what I might do is I might just move it over into this area. Now, you will lose detail, that's true, but you ideally want to kind of get something that's at least akin to the colors that you're using. So see there, it's a little bit, it's a bit closer to it. It's, there's not, we're kind of sacrificing the detail, but it's more akin to that. And basically, you apply the same method to a lot of you'll notice I also did a little bit of sculpting. It was a bit of difficulty with the floor, so what I essentially did was I just created another plane, and I remeshed it. If you look here, just using the quads, and basically use quadriflow remesh. Or you could just subdivide it, and then sculpt into it. But essentially, I put the image on there and just sort of sculpted it, so you got this cobbled stone effect. The other bit I want to kind of show you, or the last two bits really, is obviously we've got parts of the sides exposed. It wouldn't necessarily be a problem, but you might want to kind of finish it off a little bit. And one way we can do that is if we hold down, so click on, say, the edge, so make sure that you're on 2, and hold down Control and Alt, and hopefully this will work. You can actually select multiple edges. It won't necessarily do it all, but hopefully you can kind of get most of them like that. Something like that. There's a bit there left at the edge. There. I don't need that underneath, so I'm just going to hit Control and get rid of that. I think that's the same there. Now, once you've done that, we can extrude this back, so at least we've got like a side to it. So I'm going to go into the orthographic view, into the side view, hit E, and basically bring that to, say, something like that. You can adjust the position of it like that way. It's not massively important, and you could even just kind of take that. You could even use parts of the same image on the side, or if you just want to use it blank, or should I say leave it blank, you can do is go hold Shift and there we go. Shift and Alt and click. And then maybe even if we go down to the materials here, just create another material and just make this blank, so make it like a sort of charcoal grey type colour or something like that. You have to apply these things, so once it's like in that logo, or assign, to assign it now. I go back into there, you can see. So again, it's entirely, to your discretion as to what you do with that. Now, the last bit is the lighting, and I think this is really the crucial bit. You can, of course, put a character in there like I did before, but perhaps I can sort of show you how to do that. But the lighting is going to be the important bit. So I'm going to go through to this last tab here, the little sphere here. You can see I've already got a light on the go there, which is actually positioned quite nicely. But essentially, we're going to use point lights. So instead of like bringing one in, which we could do, is go Shift and A and then go lights and then bring them in that way. Point light. If you just take this one here and Shift and D and just bring this into the scene. So what I'm going to do here is it's probably a little bit too strong as it is. So I might just take that down to say something like 200 and put that into the window. So I'm just going to sort of zoom into there. It could even still be a little bit. Maybe take that to say something like 50 instead. And that's looking like that. It's just not blasting everything out. And then what we can do is, instead of it just being like white, you can just give it a slightly kind of like yellowy, orangey theme like that. And then basically do the same thing with the rest of the windows. Shift and D. There. Shift and D. Shift and D. Like so. You don't want to end up with multiple shadows, so you've got to be careful with things like that. You can take the shadows off if you like. At the moment, it doesn't appear that there are any kind of problems there, but might be something you're going to consider. You might want, say, a light up there, perhaps, Shift and D. So I'll just bring that out. Bring it in alignment with, say, with that. But that is essentially it. You can add a little bits of lighting around there. And the likes. If you did want to bring a character in, I've already downloaded a character from Mixamo, but if you go onto the site Mixamo and create an account, you can download a character. Perhaps if I could just take a minute just to show you the site. So you can see there on Mixamo, little characters, there's multiple characters you can choose. So I just come out of that and go to characters. There's literally, I'm sure how many there are in total, but there's a lot anyway. Choose something sort of suitable. But I'd say just go for something relatively plain. You don't want it to be, taking away from, that's quite a cool character, to take away from the model. Download it. You can download as an FBX. Once you've done that, you then go back, it's going to go back to Blender, and then go and find it. So go File, I'm going to go to Import, and then it'll be FBX. Okay, so my computer crashed, and apparently it lost the what I've modeled, which is rather sad, but anyway. That was the general gist of it. You can see here I've just got the character imported from Mixamo that is in there, and hopefully it will give you a good idea of what you can achieve by using 2D images and modeling from them. So anyway, that's it. Hopefully you found this video useful, and by all means, please feel free to get in touch if you want any more information about this process. That's it. Thanks for watching, folks. See you in the next video. Bye for now.